Well, AEW and New Japan's Forbidden Door is in the books for 2025, and it's time to get your hot takes now that the podcast review is out of the way, and you can check it out right now over at youtube.com/Steve and Larson. The star ratings that we're doing are also going up over at the Friendo Club Wrestling channel. At some point today, I don't know if this video is going to go up first or that one's going to go up first. I have no idea how this is all going to go down. In any event, real quick, before I get started on these AEW hot takes, I want to mention this. Over the weekend, there was a really horrific incident at an indie promotion where the son of Rampage Jackson, I think his name is Raja Jackson, absolutely tried to, seemingly, allegedly, having watched the video, tried to kill a guy. And I know everybody in the wrestling sort of sphere is talking about this. We're going to talk about it today over at the Going In Raw podcast. I like to try to keep things a little bit lighter over here at WrestleJuice, so I don't think I'm going to do like a dedicated video about that. But if you guys have questions in the next Ask WrestleJuice thread, maybe I'll answer it over there when I do that. But if you want my full thoughts about that, they're kind of Captain Obvious thoughts. Somebody should probably be held accountable for this. Go check out the podcast later on today. It's on the Raw review. I'll probably do a split screen thumbnail where I'll have that thing because everybody's talking about it. So if you want my thoughts on that, that's where you can find it over at youtube.com/Steve and Larson. As if you want to hear me talk for a really long time, which apparently a lot of you do because a lot of you are backing up how I'm doing those QA things, which is like an hour long now. Anyways, let's go ahead and get into your AEW Forbidden Door hot takes. I really want to know what you guys think about AEW. So first up from James Ainge. Shit. He says, I have a Heat Wave one. I didn't watch Heat Wave. Although I saw like some of what happened because we didn't really cover NXT anymore over at the Going In Raw podcast. I don't know why WWE feels the need to counter program AEW to run NXT stuff on the same weekend as an AEW pay-per-view. Like, it just buries NXT. I forgot about Heatwave until like well after Forbidden Door was done with. And then I was like, oh, what happened? Obafemi beat Javon Evans? I'm a big Javon Evans fan. I want him to win that NXT title. Maybe then I'll start watching again. I don't know. NXT just sort of these days doesn't do a whole lot for me. So no disrespect to people like NXT. I appreciate you guys out there. Maybe if they do different stuff, I'll tune back in. I sort of go through phases with NXT. In any event, let's see what else you guys have to say. First up, Parsat says, Tanahashi looks like a dad who gets invited to his son's stag night. He was so happy just to be included. I didn't invite my dad to my bachelor party. It was a fairly tame bachelor party, I think. Oh, yeah. But yeah, he did. You know, about the steel cage match. A lot of your comments were about the steel cage match, including something along the lines of, I can't take the Mox fork type stuff anymore. I actually thought it was a superficially violent match. Meaning, Will Ospreay doing a moonsault from like almost the top of a pretty short cage onto like a bunch of beefy dudes waiting to catch him as if their arms were pillows, which I know that's not the case. But that was kind of in that, and Darby and Gabe Kidd going through the tables. That had to suck for Gabe Kidd. I'd be surprised if he didn't have some sort of, I don't know, if he didn't wake up and his shoulder was killing him. But beyond those moments, in terms of lights out matches, kind of expected a bit more violence, and I'm kind of glad that we didn't get it. There were moments of this match that were like straight up comedy bits. The gummy bears, I thought was everything the Young Bucks are doing. I never thought I'd say this again. Everything the Young Bucks are doing right now is hilarious. The whole like jobber stuff, the disrespect stuff. I enjoy the lengths that they're going with it. I think it's pretty funny. And so the Hanson bop stuff and Kenny's all dancing around to it. I thought it was really good. I thought the entire thing was a lot of fun. And I was sitting here thinking, what the hell is Tanahashi going to do with those knees of his? I'm glad they gave him the pin at the end. And I'm glad also they had a bit where he was trying to climb a ladder and do something crazy and everybody had to talk him down. They all had to like pull him off the thing. I thought that was great. I really thought that the entire thing at no point was like, oh my God, this is going to be scary, except for maybe the the Darby Gabe Kidd fall. But like the fork bit was funny because when you actually go back and watch it, it's just Moxley sort of rubbing a fork like on his ear. And there's already a bunch of blood happening. Like his ear had already been messed up from a previous spot. And so the fork, it just looked like it, like this is the least dangerous thing they could probably do, barring like any bacterial issues, because like Mox licked the fork beforehand and then started jabbing it in there. It just looked really gnarly as opposed to like, oh my gosh, this is going to do something, this is going to cause brain damage or CTE, or this is going to shorten his life or career. No, it was just a fork being rubbed up against like a small ear wound. Well, small, it was bleeding a lot, but it really wasn't that big of a deal. And AEW fans, like if they turned away from that kind of stuff, I feel like they'd be kind of, I don't know, going against what they are, because one element of AEW is you get blood, and they try to do some creative kind of light hardcore stuff. Like the Hangman Swerve match from like last year, I think it was, where they were using the syringes. I totally get why people are like, nope, this is way too much. I'm not doing this stuff anymore. I get that. I totally get that. That was gnarly. I enjoyed it, but I thought that was pretty gnarly. But this kind of stuff is just sort of hardcore light. Like, it's not doing any real damage. But Tanahashi was a lot of fun in this, and I was kind of worried for the guy. I was worried for Will Ospreay, but again, it seemed like the violence aspect of it was a bit on the superficial side, and I appreciate that. I thought the match was wildly fun, probably a little bit on the long side, but I thought it was really, really fun. Let's see here. What else do we have from... here we go. The Derb Wonder says MJF not having to put his contract on the line really made me not care about his part of the story. It seems to me like the MJF's thing is to just get heat and never get the comeuppance he deserves. So I felt that Hangman blasting MJF with his own contract at the end to ostensibly win the match was the comeuppance that you're talking about here, because MJF tried every trick in the book and Hangman was able to use his tricks against him to hold on to his title, and MJF still has that contract. Now, to further add to the story, Tony Khan in his post press conference thing, the media scrum thing, has said that now, because of MJF's actions, the contract will have to be signed at least a week before a title defense. So they're going to take away the potential of a Money in the Bank type cash-in. I'm not a fan of that move, because I think that the money... Look, there are several conventions in pro wrestling at this point that just work. And yes, WWE pioneered, invented, whatever you want to call, it was Chris Jericho or whomever, Edge, McMahon, I don't know who. I think it was kind of Edge-ish, if I'm not mistaken. Like, he had the idea for how the actual cash-in was going to work on John Cena. In any event, WWE pioneered the whole cashing in situation. It's an awesome one. Sometimes it doesn't work, and sometimes it really, really does work. But it's a really great stipulation, and I think it's really one that AEW should just be fine using, because so many other promotions have used the same type of thing, including the promotion that I own, Action Coast Wrestling here in Sacramento, California, often running out of Pacheco, California. In any event, yeah, I think I think that's sort of a mistake, but I feel like it's also very intentional, because they probably have a story beat plan. I think it'd be wild, and I think it'd be awesome if Hangman lost that title to MJF, had to chase him for a bit, and got it back. There needs to be more world title reigns like that. I thought they should have done that with Cody and Kevin Owens in WWE, where Kevin Owens would have the title for a little bit, and then Cody Rhodes gets it back. Maybe with that whole winged eagle situation that Kevin Owens was carrying around, if he had actually beat Cody Rhodes and then carried the winged eagle, I think that could have been really cool, but they didn't do that. In any event, I think more world titles should do that. And because I think that you saw that during the Attitude Era, and it worked really, really well. It was like, oh my God, what's going to happen next? Hangman needs the odds stacked against him. And MJF getting that title off him, using the contract now because it's still available, I think would be a good idea. And obviously now it won't be in a cash-in situation, but seemingly it feels like Tony Khan has a plan for the story there. I do wish that he wouldn't have specified that you can't do that anymore. Maybe it could have been for this contract because MJF threatened to burn a man alive, that he's adding that stipulation for this contract alone, but it won't go on in the future. I don't know. Something like that. I'm not writing this stuff, and there's probably a reason for that. Let's move on to the next hot take here from Cody Miles. The Predictions Form Wizard says, if the door is so forbidden, they shouldn't open it yearly. So I've seen that discourse as well, where maybe it's time to retire the forbidden door idea, given that now the idea of collaborations between big promotions, it's kind of not a big deal anymore. So the door isn't quite forbidden. And on top of that, like during the year, you just see collaborations between AEW, New Japan, and CMLL. Obviously now WWE has collaborations with TNA, and they purchased AAA. I'm getting in trouble again. AAA, whatever it's fucking called. So obviously, like, you're right. The door's not really all that forbidden anymore. That being said, it's really terrific branding. It's become a much loved pay-per-view every single year. And if you have something that's well branded, don't change it. If you have a branding that works, don't change it. For example, why did Twitter change to X? It's stupid. Why did Going in Raw change to Steven Larson's Pro Wrestling Podcast? Let's just move on to the next one here. Let's see. From W. Stein says, Adam Copeland should have brought out the kazoos and shades at the end of the match with Christian. Well, he tried a hug instead. What do you guys think? Do you think by the end of this whole Edge and Christian reunion thing, we're going to get the kazoos? That is my absolute favorite. I thought they were going to do maybe a 5-second pose. I loved that stuff back in the day. That was honestly my favorite Edge and Christian. I think for a lot of people, is your favorite Edge and Christian moments was the 5-second pose, along with Kurt Angle doing his silly shtick as well. Boy, that was a lot of fun. I don't know if we're going to get that. I like Christian maintaining and sticking to his guns and being an asshole. I really like that. I think that works really well. I feel like they should sort of pivot to be a bit closer to who they are. Edge Copeland already is kind of that. But if they bring in the whole planking business as well to their presentation, to their gimmick, to their story, I think that'd be great. I think they'd sell a lot of those plank machine things that they have. Robbie McGowan says, didn't watch. Will watch when pay-per-view is completely dead. I don't want to spend $60 to $70 for cable, let alone a pay-per-view. Streaming is the future. I didn't. That was a real. I did that echo effect myself. That wasn't in the post-production or anything. So wait, what is this again? He said, I didn't watch. I will watch when pay-per-view is completely dead. I don't want to spend $60 to $70 for cable, let alone a pay-per-view. So, okay. No, fair enough. Robbie just doesn't like the pay-per-view model. So you're cool spending money on streaming. Like how many? Now Robbie, now you're stuck because now I want to know. Let me know in the comments. What streaming services do you pay for? How many of them do you pay for? Be honest. Is it more than the $60 to $70 that you're spending on cable? Honestly, if you just have an internet connection and Pluto TV, I mean, in life, that's kind of all you need. Yeah, I'm not even doing an ad for Pluto TV, but I gladly would. It's outstanding. You get 4 Star Trek channels. And then there's a AAA channel. AAA channel, whatever it's called. I don't think you can watch the pay-per-views, though. So, yeah, Robbie, the pay-per-view model, when is it going to die? Probably not anytime soon. I think it's still pretty successful model. But, hey, man, more power to you. Fight the man, I guess. OJ the Black says, Adam Page's finisher should be the Deadeye and not the Buckshot Lariat. I kind of agree with this. I just go with the flow because I really like Hangman. But the Buckshot is not the most convenient finisher in the world. You got to get outside the ring and then do a flip that absolutely annihilates your knees to get back in, and all your momentum is gone. So you're just like, honestly, even if he did like a clothesline from hell situation where he's just sort of like reconfigured the buckshot, like he calls it buckshot from hell, and then he bounces off the ropes, because then you got actual momentum from the ropes. I'm not a physicist, although maybe I should be. But when you flip over, you flip over the rope and then you stop. All the energy is going down into the mat right there. Okay? You've lost all that momentum energy, all the centripetal force, all the dynamic kinetic energy is gone. Now it's static energy. And then you got to start running. So why don't you just start running from where you are? This does nothing except blow out your knees. But if you do this up against the ropes and then bounce off. There you go, Hangman Adam Page. I'm a little older than you, man. I know you used to be a teacher. But I feel like I got, I think, like a C+ in physics back when I was a junior in high school. And by the way, that was the class that I met Larson. He was a senior and I was a junior. Yes, I took that class a year before Larson. For all you people who say, oh, Larson's a smart one. Nah. I was a junior in the class that he was a senior in. He probably got a better grade than me, though. Anyways, let's see here. Sandwiches says, why the fuck did the good guys not go to the other side of the cage to climb over? So at the end of the pay-per-view, of course, the Death Riders, all the good guys left. Death Riders came back in, or however it was, and they attacked Will Ospreay. Wrote him off TV for a very long time. And a lot of people were saying, oh, well, you got Kota Ibushi out there punching the cage door, trying to get in, trying to, like, throwing himself into the cage door to get in, which made sense. And then, but I guess, after that cage match that they had, they just don't, after I play an hour of basketball with Larson, the last thing I'm going to do is climb up a cage. I'm spent. And maybe there's like that little bit of like, well, he's already said that he's going to have to leave because of like neck surgery, or he kind of hinted at that. So what more can they really do to him? They'll fix it all in surgery. He'll be fine. But on them in the meantime, we're going to, point our fingers a lot. Maybe that was the idea. I don't know. Kota Ibushi seemed to want to get in that cage. Renegade Mike, he says, Wardlow is forever stuck in the faction vortex. Maybe they'll get it right this time with Wardlow. Boy, oh boy, they had something good with him and MJF. I thought that was going to be a real Batista thing with him. And then, remember years ago, they had that weird contract situation with MJF. He sort of phoned in that match with Wardlow. And then the very next episode of Dynamite, they gave him a lawsuit angle with Mark Sterling. That sucked. Anyways, Wardlow hasn't really been able to get out of that. That being said, being in the Don Callis family, I hope they really place an emphasis. You take some creative energies. Whoever's doing the Tony Storm stuff, like RJ City or something like that. Allegedly, I think RJ's involved with the Tony Storm stuff. And you focus that creative energy in a Don Callis family and the character dynamics within that group and the egos and the ambitions of the people in the group, because that is a loaded faction, just ripe with story potential. And Wardlow being added to that, and Takeshita coming in and kind of having to give the final thumbs up, so to speak, I think is really good stuff. You could go into so much depth with that as a faction, with them opposing Hangman. Who's going to get the shot at Hangman if it's going to be the Callis family after MJF? There's a lot you can do there. I hope they focus all that creative energy on the Callis family, because goddamn, that's a loaded faction right now. Boy, oh boy, that's some good stuff right there. Oh my God, what's happening here? Here we go. Sean says Athena should have won. I love her style. It would have put prestige on Ring of Honor. I don't know who fights Tony for the belt now. Yeah, they got it. Oh, who's going to beat Tony now? Athena's great. That match was awesome. I love Athena. I love Tony Storm. Kind of a no-win situation here. But yeah, I do think number one, Athena needs to come to main roster. Enough of this Ring of Honor stuff. Have her vacate the title, or have Billy Starks beat her for it. Although I love Billy Starks as sort of her side guy. Yeah, I like that match a lot. But yeah, should Athena have won? I don't think it would have hurt Tony at all. I don't think you need to build up Tony as like a big unbeatable monster. And I think Athena would have been great to win that thing, and then Tony gets back from her. Mess around with the titles a little bit, man. You don't need long title runs. I know Tony got this title back from, what's-her-face, Blake Monroe, Mariah May, not that long ago, wasn't it? It wasn't that long ago. Patrick Cheeseman says Ricochet and GOA getting no reaction to attacking the Hurt Syndicate was very apropos. So from a TV perspective, that was just done awkwardly. It was announced as an elimination match on their socials, and then I guess they pulled back on that, and then it was not an elimination match. I don't know. Like, I don't think it was necessary to just take the tag titles off Hurt Syndicate right now. Brodito's they are popular. FTR, they're doing great bad guy stuff right now. You can do a thing where it's like one-on-one straight up and the Hurt Syndicate can lose. Like, you don't need to sort of wiggle out of Hurt Syndicate eating a pin. I think that's silly. And I don't even think Hurt Syndicate needed to lose those tag titles. Yeah, that was a weird situation. That was a really weird situation. I didn't like it. Didn't like the booking on the finish. Myth Trainer says the spot with Darby and Mox does more damage to AEW than WWE counter programming does. Considering WWE counter programming does no damage to AEW, I mean, if it turns some people off, it turns some people off. Maybe you got a good point there, because I don't think WWE counter programming does anything to AEW. Spud Magnum, what a great name, says Takeshita should turn face, beat Zack Sabre Jr. for the title, and then be the one to beat Okada and be a dominant double champ. This is a Takeshita fan account, clearly. I don't necessarily disagree, though. I think that'd be a great idea. Brendan says, not a hot take, but oh God, my fucking God, Darby, your freaking ear, bro. Well, you just said fucking, and then you said frickin'. Which one is it? Make up your mind here, man. Are you going to curse or not? Amazine says they should do away with the name Forbidden Door because doors aren't really that forbidden. I already talked about that one. Why did I load that one up? Michael says Tony announced the post-show presser. I already talked about that too. God damn it. I already talked about Wardlow. Here we go. I already talked about that too. What about this one? That's the first one we did. Okay, well, looks like that's going to do for hot takes. I ain't cutting any of that shit out, all right? This is just, I'm just not editing this. Got too much stuff to do, man. I'm not editing this stuff. That's going to do it. Thanks, everybody, for your hot takes. I appreciate it. I'm going to put up listen, for those of you still paying attention, I'm going to put up a thread for Ask Wrestle Juice. I'm going to leave it up for like 24 hours or so. And then tomorrow I'm going to drop an Ask Wrestle Juice. I'm going to answer every single question, but only one question per friendo in the thread, please. Because if I notice any names that pop up again, I'm just not going to read those questions. So there you go. Hit that subscribe button, hit the notify bell so that you know when the thread goes up. We'll see you guys around.